up, everybody? Welcome to the IAG Thursday thing. This thing that we do every Thursday, and we've been better about it, but uploading's been a little wacky. Last week was PRI. It was a little nuts. We did record an episode. It's just we recorded it in the hotel room, and we were all just having a good time with it. And it's taken Jordan a little bit of time to get it together, but we should have that up tomorrow, no problem. But I'm sure we're going to talk about a little bit of some stuff from a different perspective of PRI today. And we'll chat about that in a second. Joining me today is absolutely nobody on the usual crew. Warranty is being an adult. Jordan has people moving in. I appreciate them both, but there's like stuff going on with that. And then Randy made a thumbnail and we appreciate it. And yeah, so that's kind of the usual. This week, though, we're joined by we're joined by a mythical figure, somebody I've actually known for a few years now, but really never had a chance to have a serious conversation with. Which I'm pretty hyped about this. He kind of got pushed into prominence over the summer for a little incident that happened at Grid Life at Grid Life at Lime Rock, but we're gonna show a video in the chat, and we're gonna let the chat I think his perspective is a little different than what the live cast caught, and I honestly I think it's going to shed a little more light as to actually what happened. So either way, what I'm
I
really
personally like the Jet 2 holiday meme is better.
it's really good. It is really good. So I'm pretty hyped. We have Max Gourley on, who has done tons of NASA and dipped his toes into Grid Life, and I'm really hyped to have you on, Max. How you doing, bud?
Doing great. Thank you for having me on. I know we talked about it a couple times, and
Every
here we
time,
are.
and it just never seems to work out. And you finally hit me up. You're like, yo, I want to do this. And I'm like, guess what? I got nothing going on this week. You are the perfect person for this. Plus, honestly, track stuff always does really well on this. So I'm pretty hyped because I don't know, maybe I get excited about it and more people get excited about it. But it should be really good. So I need to hear a little bit about you, what your background is, and what you've been doing. So where are you from? What do you do? Explain to us who Max is.
Well, here I am. I'm Max Gourley. I used to drive the number 34 Blue STI for a number of years. And what I do now is I have a BRZ that I'm building an ST5 in NASA. So I've been a NASA driver for many years, doing TT. Started in NASA 2016, but I've been on track since 2011. I started off with a Cobalt SS supercharged.
Nice.
That was fun on track. Loved it. And then I had an Audi S4 that I tracked for a little bit. And then I met my then girlfriend, now wife, and she had a WRX, red WRX, and I had my S4, and we both wanted to go to the track together. And we're just like, why don't we just economies of scale and just pick a car that we're going to jump into? And that's how I ended up in my blue STI because she drove a WRX, so she was comfortable driving that. And I was just like, I drove an all-wheel drive S4 on track, so I'm comfortable with an all-wheel drive platform, and that's what we built into. Built that over a course of a couple of years, and then, like I said, moved into the BRZ just this year and dipped my toe into the grid life. Other than that, on the personal side, I work at Prudential Financial up here in New Jersey. I'm from New Jersey, so I've been a Jersey born and raised. I also I'm in the National Guard, Army National Guard. I'm going on 19 and a half years.
Holy
Almost
crap.
at my 20.
I can't even call you a boot.
Yeah. So two combat deployments. Just came back from Iraq the year prior, and then so this year was a big year to get back on track. And then I also have a part ownership in a motorsports company called 1010 Performance Motorsports. So basically, our whole mission there is to get to the track, and meet people at the track, talk to people about getting to the track, making it more affordable for them, just using word of mouth to not only help ourselves out, but help some of our people at the track that we meet along the way. We're a group of instructors, TT, time attack guys and gals, and racers. We have, you know, a couple friends that are Porsche owners, BMW owners. I have another BRZ buddy that he's also building his BRZ. So we're just track people doing track things.
Cool.
And yeah.
So let's go back to the beginning here. So you're you this wasn't a situation like a lot of people find where they were into Subarus and then they decided they wanted to take their Subaru to the track. This was you were already going to the track and then it was more your girlfriend, now wife, turned you into like it just made sense for you guys to run the same platform. Um have you now you're kind of synonymous with the brand. It's kind of a part of your own branding in a way. How I mean, do you regret that in any way? Is there anything you miss about other platforms that this is done differently? I mean, what's your take on that? Or are you sad you got sucked into Subarus?
you know, there's a lot of pain in between the track days, but when everything is going right and you're on track in that GDSTI, like that thing just makes all the right noises. It's just so fun to drive. The car was so planted on rails, and the turbo just screaming down the front straight. Everybody knew it was me that was at an NASA event because I'm just ripping it. So choice and platform, not for, I think it goes without saying, and maybe many here have probably heard it before. It's not for the faint of heart to be into the STI platform.
Hmm.
It's just maybe there's a little bit more that you have to do than most, but every platform's got its quirks.
Yep.
Maybe Subaru has one or two more than the rest, but I don't say I regret the decision at all. I thoroughly enjoyed my time in the STI, and where I was coming from, I was tracking my S4, which was my daily, and I really kept thinking about like I would be really upset if I bent this in the wall. So I should probably just get something a little bit more dedicated.
Hmm.
And then I just basically had the same opinion of the STI because I would feel really sad if I bent that in the wall too. But that's kind of like where the decision point was, and it just made sense because I was just going from all-wheel drive platform to all-wheel drive platform. So I thought a lot of my skills were transferable, and it was both comfortable for both of us.
So how did you end up on track the first time in whatever vehicle you were in? You said you started messing around with a Cobalt SS supercharged, but was that the first car you took on track? When did you start messing around with track stuff? How did that happen? How did you start competing? Like, how did this all? Tell me the story.
The journey.
Hmm.
So in 2011, my then girlfriend at the time, not wife, she got me a track day with track days at NJMP Thunderbolt.
Nice.
So I had my Cobalt. I was doing lots of work on it myself. So just putting down, modest numbers. I think like 260, 270 on the stock supercharger, suspension, all the like the little good stuff. Looks mostly stock from the outside. And I had a blast. And then I was hooked because then I was doing at least, two or three events a year. And then I jumped into the S4 and then just continued doing that because
What made
I
that
went
jump? Like,
into.
why did you go? I'm done with the Cobalt. Like, so you started doing track days and messing around. Did you compete in the Cobalt?
No, just DE.
Just
I think
D
I just
having a good
stayed
time.
DE1,
Okay.
DE2.
And then what? How?
Yeah,
What?
and
What got
then
you into the S4? You were just looking for more performance. So you're like, I want the total opposite of front wheel drive. So I want something all wheel drive. Like, what got you into
I
that?
think it just I had the Cobalt since 2007, so about 5 years in the car, and I just kind of like realized like, I'm in a hot boy like Cobalt SS, and I probably need something a little bit more adult. So I really like the Audi. So it was just because it was my daily. So
Sure.
and I had 110
What year?
or
What year
20,000
S4 was
miles on the
this?
Cobalt. 2011 S4.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So this
Yeah.
is what B6 then? Is this the
V8
supercharged
S4.
one or the V8?
V8 S4. It's the V6 supercharged.
Yes. Gangster, who is in the chat, had one of those, and that thing was so wildly underrated. It was unreal. That car was great.
Oh, the car, hands down, is like one of the best daily drivers
Oh yeah,
Like the styling and everything is just so great.
it ripped.
And I miss my car, and
Yes.
it rips.
Yep,
Yeah.
they're great. I can't say it's like a great track car, but man, for a daily,
Yeah.
that is a chef's kiss ride, dude.
Yeah, I had the B8S4 Prestige with the sport diff. So car was great. Like great for what it was on track. Like I said, I got the one track day on track. I think I did two events in the Cobalt, and then I was just like, the Cobalt's got 110,000 miles on it. It's time to,
Yep,
get
I'm on
into a next
borrowed
car.
time. That's a GM product with 110,000 miles. You're on borrowed time.
The trans let go at like at 90. So yeah, I got the new trans in, and then it was just like, all right, it's probably time to sell this thing. Um, so then like yeah, the very next year, then I was in the S4 platform, and I was doing events with Audi Club North America. So I was doing ACNA events at the Poconos and JP. I was doing that off and on for a couple of years up until 2016, where then I met my then girlfriend, now wife, and then we decided 2017 STI time.
So your girlfriend, now wife, and you were. Did you both decide you wanted to compete? Like, did you meet her at the track? How like did cars have some play in this? I just there's I feel like you met this super. I think this is great, by the way, but you basically met a Subaru girl and she drug you in.
Yeah, she did.
Nice.
So we met online through Bumble,
Okay,
as the kids do back in the day.
back in the hizzy.
And part of her profile pictures was the red WRX that she had. She had a 2011 red WRX. So I had 2011 S4. She had a 2011 red WRX.
Okay,
Um, and so yeah, and super clean car. And she went to Wicked Big Meets. She went to Car Me Up. So
sure.
and then as we started growing our relationship, one of the things that she was like bummed about was her previous boyfriend, the ex, didn't ever want her to go to a track day or anything like that. And I was just like, well, we should go to the track. But we were like, well, we both don't want to bend up our nice cars. And I was like, let's get an STI
Yeah. Oh, so
and
this
bring it to
was
the
a
track.
this wasn't you both have Subarus there. It was you both went in on getting an STI so you could beat the shit out of it at the track.
Exactly.
This is love, kids. Listen to this. Get one car to
Very
beat the
lucky.
shit
I,
out of.
I
I
know.
love it.
I know.
I love it. This is great. So,
Yep. So the search began. So I don't know if anybody knows about the forums. I was on NASIOC, and I do the
everybody,
STI.
yep.
Yep. And I found a post on a guy who was selling his STI, who was doing NASA TT2, but he was doing it out in the Midwest
Okay.
in North Dakota.
Nice. Okay. So, way out there. This is also proof
Yeah.
that NASA's all over the place. So, if you want to compete, it could be anywhere, even in North Dakota.
Yeah. And so the gist of it is that he had this '04 STI converted over to, '05 drivetrain. I think he put an '05 drivetrain in it. So
Hmm.
converted over to '05. So he's got the better hubs in it. He caged it. It's all fully gutted. It's a TT2 prepped car. And essentially what he was saying was, I made the mistake of going too far and I don't have a trailer, a means of getting this to track. Like I was driving this car, caged and everything, to the track.
Brutal.
Crazy.
So you bought that car caged, ready to go, then, didn't you?
I did.
That's
So he
sick.
he just went a little bit too far,
Hmm.
and he wanted to get into a Corvette, as the other dark side lives
Yep.
is Corvette life. S-
Heard that story
So
before.
uh flew out to North Dakota, saw the car, everything looked great. I said, all right, we're doing it. Picked it up from and had it shipped to EFI, and that's where my EFI basically partnership friendship started.
Sure.
So the car was originally built at EFI. The guy had it sent out to EFI. They did the engine. They did a lot of the work on the car. Mikey Body tuned it,
Yep.
I think. Yep. And then the guy had it brought back to North Dakota. So the car went right back to EFI. And I said, hey, this is going to the track and we're going to do NASA with it. And they were just like, oh, cool. Because EFI has a history of tracking STIs and they were doing it at ST2
Hmm.
back in the day. So, um, so as with anything, we take it out for the first year and first event, we broke fifth gear, I think, or no, we broke fourth gear. First, it went right away. And we had a 2-day event. So I just skipped
How much
fourth gear
power was
the
this
second
car?
day.
Let's talk about this STI real quick. So in the condition you got it in, okay, it was caged. I'm assuming suspension was done.
Mhm.
This guy was already competing with this car, so you bought a functioning car. Did you change classes or anything, or did you just keep it in the same class? Like this guy put together a decent package, or were you like, we need to improve upon this? How much power did that make? What is You said it was what, ST2? What is an ST2 STI like? Uh, give me a high concept of what that looks like, cuz I got to be real, I don't know shit about NASA. I know it's power to weight and help us out here.
Yeah. So in the national organization, the racing structure for STTT is based on power to weight ratio. So the higher, so one is the top class, then two, three, four, five.
Mhm.
So TT2, if I'm not mistaken, is 10-1, 8-1. I'll double check myself here later. Someone will double check me in the chat. Keep me honest. 8-1.
8 to 1. Okay,
Uh,
that's scooting. Okay,
yep.
so that's a
Yeah.
decent amount of
Quick.
power. Do you have any idea about how much power you were making at that point, or the car was?
370.
Okay.
Yeah. It like you were saying, the car was TT2 prepped. So he was doing time trials and it was caged. It was TT2 prepped. Well, basically TT2 ready. Like I got the car, we basically did a maintenance overhaul, just checked a bunch of stuff and just said, okay, let's just make sure all the stuff is up to
Was
safety spec and then just send it to the track.
was the basic arrow was I know when you had it, you had a front splitter, decent sized wing. Was all that stuff done within that time trial spec also?
No, so when I got the car, no front splitter, it had the kit on it already.
Hmm.
And then the wing on the back was the APR 300 wing,
Okay.
so not the wing that I have today.
Yeah.
So the arrow bit's super super light arrow
What can you
that
run for
wise. And
tire in that
then
class?
say again.
What were you running for tire?
Tire for that class, he still had the 17s on it, so I was on a 255. I want to say it was a Falcon. I want to say it was either a Falcon tire or it was a Toyo tire. I think I was running just an RA1 just to have like an all-rounder tire.
Okay, are you allowed to run? Are there just like different modifiers depending on the type of tire it is? Like, if it's 100 treadwear or like a slick, or what? Are you allowed to run slicks in that class?
Yeah, exactly. So it basically like starts off with like, here's your horsepower weight, what's your tire size? That's a modifier. So you run 315s. That's like considered the spec tire for
Hmm.
TT2. Because you're getting Corvettes and other pretty
Yeah,
pretty
so
quick
it's
cars in
probably
there.
doing like what percentages, like add a percent of weight or pull some power out or
Essentially,
whatever, and that's how it's modifying. So there's like a whole
exactly.
calculator on how you would figure out how you would spec to that class.
Exactly. Starts
Okay.
off with the tire size, then it gets into the tire make and model of the tire. So if you're running a Toyo R888R,
Hmm.
not a great tire, gets a pretty high modifier. Running a Hoosier Slick, that's the spec tire. Like the spec tire, it's because it has a zero modifier on it.
Yeah.
Um, and then it gets into chassis modifications. It gets into transmission. So if you run a regular transmission, no penalty. But if you have a dog box, I think, or a sequential, that's a penalty. Not dog box, automatic paddle shifter.
Sure.
And then there's actually a penalty for drivetrain. You take a penalty for being an all-wheel drive car.
I'm sure you do. Like I'm sure
Yes,
they're gonna try to nail you for that, because anywhere all-wheel drive cars are stuffed, there's some form of penalty. Like even in grid life, street mod like we run, we're limited to a 255 tire when everybody else gets 285s. That sort of
exactly.
stuff. It just they're gonna nail you, and
Yeah.
yeah.
And why is that? Why is that? Because you can grip up and launch yourself out of the corner better than a front wheel drive or a rear wheel drive car.
Sure. Now, while I agree with that, I also agree that, especially with current day tire tech and the way traction control and stuff works these days, and especially on really high speed tracks, um, if we were talking 2005, the tire tech we had
Hmm.
then, all wheel drive was king. Nowadays,
Yes.
I think some of these rules are a bit archaic, but you know what? We do okay. So either way. So you kept it in this same class, right? So you kept it in TT2?
So where I was at in my DE travels at that time,
Yeah,
I was a DE3 driver and my wife was just starting to get into the track. So if you
sure.
can imagine, the first time I bring this car to the track is the first time I put my wife on track, and she's in a fully TT2 prepped SCI track car,
Sick.
and she's learning how to and go around a track of this thing. I
Yeah.
thought it was awesome because she was wheeling it, man.
That's sick. So she learned thrown right in the deep end because I'm gonna assume that this thing was set up like a a time attack car. This thing was it was looking to make time. So I guarantee it rotated really well and did all the things you want for a more experienced driver. And she had to learn like right now.
Yeah, but she
Mm,
caught on pretty quick.
that's awesome.
And the car, I would say the car was like still fairly planted. It drove like, how you expect an all-wheel drive car to drive on track. So it was all good. And like I said, like when we first got the car, it was just like I think the car hadn't been on track for a year or two, and we essentially just, like, hey, let's just do the a maintenance full once over, get the safety stuff updated, and then just put it on track and see what happens. And then
Sure.
that's when we found out, oh, transmission sad, fourth gear gone, up, suspension little clunky,
Yep.
needs new suspension. Yep.
So when you started doing this overhaul on it, did you make any changes on the way through? So new trans, did you just replace it with another trans or you just get it rebuilt? Suspension, did you make a major update? Like what kind of take me through the path of how you built this car, especially going into competing with it and how it slotted into that class and how you did.
Yeah, the approach from the onset was that, hey, this is a TT2 prepped car, and TT2 in my NASA region, NASA Northeast, actually had pretty decent amount of cars that showed up in the class, which is important. So if you're looking at
Sure.
competing, you want to understand how many cars are showing up in your class because you don't want to show up and be the only guy or
Yeah, that's
gal,
lame. And
or
that happens
maybe
in a
there's
lot
one
of
other person.
SCCA classes. So
Yeah.
that's one of the
So
downsides to
TT2 was good.
having a million different classes, but I think NASA does a good job by like almost any car can fit in almost any class. It's just the modifiers kind of put you where you need to. So you knew this was going to be a TT2 car. And it worked out. Am I losing my damn train of thought? I am. Either
No,
way,
we're starting on the journey of what we were doing.
yes. So I want to understand the path on updates and how you went with that. But how many? That's what I was going to ask. How many is a decent amount of cars in a NASA like class? Like, are we talking
5.
five? Okay, which is that means there's five other people there trying to go for it. Five would be solid, you know. So you want to make sure there's probably at least 4 or 5 people there. How many people were showing up to these
Exactly.
for the most part? Five, or did you get 10, 20? Like what does that look like?
So at NASA, you have in the TT vein, there's only the 1 through 6 or the unlimited class. So you might have like 30 or 40 competitors that fill out that time slot because
Sure.
they're all running in that TT time slot, but then it's broken down and segmented into those classes. So
Okay.
when I was first showing up, TT2 consistently had at minimum 3, at most 5 to 6.
Okay.
So I was going into a class where at minimum, you were definitely going to get a trophy for showing up,
Yeah,
or at worst, you're going to be last because a bunch of fast people showed up and you're like the sixth guy that was fastest.
for
But what's
sure.
important to know about NASA is that the contingencies start turning on at 5,
Okay. So
so that's important.
that's a big thing is it you're not getting a contingency if you're, winning they're not just handing stuff out. If you showed up in a class and nobody's there. That's interesting. So, um contingencies can be huge in some. NASA does a very good job of getting contingencies. SCCA does, and Gridlight just started dabbling with it, and some of them actually look really badass this year. Um, but
Yeah.
okay, so that's you want to make sure you're in a class that the contingencies are going to flip on, so you might have a shot at that.
Exactly. It's important to understand the grand scheme of things. Like, we're not all made out of money. Like, we're all grassroots racers. We don't want to show up every weekend, burn through a set of tires after 2 weekends because, you want to run, you know, purple crack, which is known as Hoosiers.
Yes.
And then they're basically the peak of the life is gone after about 14 to 16 heat cycles. You want to be trying to, if you're a competitor and you're going to end up, on the top step, like, you're pretty quick, you can turn a pretty quick lap. You want to have the 4 or 5 other people behind you that are going to be able to allow you to turn that contingency on, and then you win a set of tires for the weekend or 2 tires, and you win a full set of brake pads like in a weekend,
Yep.
which is nice.
Huge. Absolutely huge. That can change a whole season, honestly. So, most of these cars that are running TT2, the guys who are there to win, are they running Purple Crack? Are they all running Hoosiers? Is that like the play?
Yeah, you're on Hoosier.
Yeah. So if you're there to win, you're running Hoosiers. It just is what it is. Cause like
It-
you have some, um, it depends on whatever class you're trying to do in any organization. You want to make sure you're on the right tire if you're really there to win. And
yep.
I always wondered, I usually when I see these the NASA guys, they're all on Hoosiers. They're all on just rowdy ass, like that's what they run.
Yeah.
So
Especially at 3 and higher,
yeah.
when you get 3, 4, 5, the tire offset is not as significant.
Hmm.
You could be a lot closer in 3, 4, 5. Like, Devin Meadows, who runs in TT4 with his STI, VA STI, he was running a Maxxis and absolutely crushing times in crushing that class on a Maxxis tire, RC1. So, like, there's that crossover basically. Like, as soon as you get to 3, you're basically at the point where, like, the Hoosier's probably the favorite tire at that point and higher. And then below that, it's just like, hey, there's, not so much of a difference because of the horsepower to weight ratios.
Yeah, it's not going to be as big of a deal coming out of corners, stuff like that. The cars are going to have less power. Yeah, I could see Hoosiers not being this massive difference maker. But if your car's making, your car made m- upper 300s, but it was probably making mid 400s as far as torque, because I'm gonna assume you were trying to basically make your maximum horsepower as wide as you possibly could. So it was probably going to be a little offset towards torque. It's just kind of what Subarus do. Um, and that's
Yep, I
on
would
even
say.
any 200 treadwear tire. You could blow those things right off.
Yep. So at the beginning, on my powertrain that I bought, like, we kept that alive for many years. So initially, I was on a 3071R Gen 2 and made good power, a little lazy on the torque, but in NASA with horsepower to weight ratios, you want to have the flattest power curve possible,
Mhm.
making it as long as possible, as early as possible. But the
Do they
torque on that
nail you
on
for
that
that?
turbo wasn't there.
Do they nail you for like abnormally flat horsepower? Is there like some sort
No.
of see, this is something that people might be trying to understand what we're saying here, but basically if you put the car on a dyno, um what you don't want is, let's say he can only make 380 horsepower. That's actually fairly simple to do. You could do that with a really small turbo, but you'd only make 380 horsepower for a very short period of time.
For 500 RPMs. Yeah, that
And
would be
what
bad.
what you're looking for is 380 horsepower for like 4,000 RPM. So you guys are actually like manipulating your power band, limiting torque, doing whatever you can to try to flatten your 380 horsepower out as far as you possibly can. So you get as much 380 horsepower as you possibly can get.
Exactly.
Mhm.
So I wouldn't say it's so much penalized because the way they call it averaging down. So they're taking 500 RPM or 50 RPM increments along the horsepower curve to
Okay.
measure, like, that average horsepower. So if you have a really flat horsepower curve, that's what they're trying to get you to. And then the other end of it is that if you have a really peaky power curve, you can average down to that number. So if you're
Oh, okay.
authorized 380 and you have a really peaky power curve, like say you hit 410, but like the
Yeah,
average is 380, you may hit 410 really deep in the RPM band. But essentially you're not too penalized by it, but it still favors the power band. Still
sure.
favors that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, especially, area under curve, more than likely, I can see how they're trying to do that with math, but just making this ridiculous area under curve is probably going to be your best bet. Honestly, area under curve should be fairly similar if you had a peaky power band, but I could see how it would really favor towards the flat power band
Yep.
versus
But
trying to make
unlimited
some
torque.
peaky. Yeah, just the heap o torque, flatten it
Heap of
out.
torque.
So that's also a kind of a different approach as far as tuning too, because you guys would probably, try to get the turbo online spike boost like hell because you don't have to make tons of peak power, but you need a turbo that can make a pile of torque, and then it would taper off up top to flatten the power band out. What turbo were you guys running on that?
100%. 100% that was the play. The
Hmm.
plan was to just push the boost in early as the motor would safely allow it,
Yep.
get the torque to really come in as early as possible, and then bleed it off, flatten it out. At the current motor turbo combination, we're now on a G G25 550.
Yep, I think it's a smaller. So is that what they're running? Is that what you were running then? Because now they're just so people understand. This car is now kind of turned. Last year, Bucky ran this car a bunch. This is Subi Mod's like GD time attack car now, and they're like trying to convert that
Yes.
into a track mod car, and like they're getting there. I love them. I wish they'd listen to me and make it a street mod car because it actually would slot in better there. But what the hell do I know? Um, but
So right now it's a G25 550 on the platform.
Yeah. And is that what you ran most of the time?
So the engine and turbo overhaul happened in early 23
Yeah.
off season, 22 into 23. That's when the power plant upgrade came in. So us we went with a motor that had the blocks, not sleeves. Man, why is it escaping me right now?
Closed deck.
Um, Closed deck, thank you.
Yep.
Closed deck block. Then we changed the turbo to the G25 550
Okay.
because again, NASA car, I'm basically a 360, 370 horsepower car. So the 550 is a perfect turbo for
It's
that.
absolutely mint for that.
Fast spooling.
Yep.
Yeah, fast spooling torque comes on quick. Basically, building out the bottom end to support getting full, torque hit at a very like in the mid three. I think we were like full torque at like
That
3600
car
or
had to have
something
been
like
so
that.
much fun to
Super low.
drive.
Yeah, and because that motor that was in the car before that was just a stage one EFI block, so basically rods pistons motor
Yeah.
and heads, and it was on a 3071R.
Hmm.
So not the torque hit wasn't as hard. And I think what people need to understand about the EJ motor is like if you don't build for that torque on the bottom end, you're gonna wreck your mains
You're
and
going
your
to wreck your
rods.
main, just bearings in general. The bearing surfaces on the rods are fairly small. So if
Yeah.
these engines need to be built really well. The 2.5 liter will make a boatload of torque. We know that'll happen. Okay. Nobody's denying that, but you definitely want to prep for it. Plus, not going closed deck, the cylinder walls are really thin on these. So if you're not
Yep.
prepping for that, he's only making, he was only making 380 horsepower, but he was making a ton more torque. The cylinder pressure is really, really high. You definitely want to make sure you close deck with something like that. Because that you can easily blow cylinder walls out, even though it was fairly low horsepower. Like they're spiking torque as hard as they can, throwing a ton of timing at it. They needed to build for that.
Yep.
So yeah, it makes a ton of
So that was
sense.
the decision. Yeah, so that was the decision in 23 because I was pushing for NASA Nationals.
Hmm.
So I made the cut for National Nationals, which is you just need to participate in a minimum number of events and then you qualify for nationals.
Sure.
So then I went to nationals and I just missed the podium at pit race. I was off the podium by I think zero. 0.7 seconds. That was in the second,
Oh,
third. So second, third, fourth was covered by 1.1 seconds.
oh wow. So they've got these pretty close then. Like, yeah, that was real
Yes.
close. So
Yeah.
what?
Second, third, fourth. It was a Supra, a C5 Corvette, and me, or C6 Corvette and me.
So it
That was
sounds
second,
like
third,
street
fourth.
mod. I was about to ask, what are the other cars? What are the other cars you'd see in this class? Supras, Corvettes, and then your STI. What are some other common cars you would see within that class? I'm just interested to see what other people are building for it.
You're not that far off from the imagination. It's Supras and Corvettes. The Supra is ubiquitous now. It's in TT3, TT2. It slots so good in there. And Corvettes. We do have someone in my region that runs a E90 M3. That's been really done up. It's really punching above its weight in a TT2. But that's really more of a TT3 car because of the V8. And yeah, that's like those are the cars that are at the top.
Yeah, so that makes sense. So yeah, it really does. I bet you there's some other cars people might be able to cram in there, but for the most part, that really sounds like about what I'd figure would pop out of there. So
Yeah, I
okay,
would say in the TT3, TT4 category, a little bit more mix starts happening because, like I said, like the horsepower, um, and the way the classing works for the horsepower weight ratios, you can have a little bit more flexibility with makes and models in there that can be competitive. But as
sure.
soon as you cross over to TT3 and then TT2, TT1, you're in a Corvette, a Supra, or you have poured a
Yeah, or you're a
ungodly sum of money
psychopath.
into some type of platform, or you're some guy in an STI that's put way too much money into an STI platform.
So you were essentially the oddball within that to a degree, which again, I know exactly how that feels. So you were kind of the oddball within TT2. You probably didn't see a ton of STIs in that. Did you see any other evos or anything like that really?
No, the Evos are really zero.
Yeah,
Like no one is tracking an Evo. I think I may have seen an Evo maybe once or twice in the past couple handful of years. Which you know that's
it's kind of sad
unfortunate.
because
Everybody loves it to see an Evo. Yeah,
they were the platform was really good, but there wasn't enough of them, and you're running a massive risk running one these days, and it going catastrophic and putting it back together is getting more and more expensive by the day. You can ask my buddy Spaz and all the issues he's had. There really hasn't been development on the platform,
exactly.
anything past what it used to be. When I got to be real, none of us have slowed down with Subarus. In fact, if anything, in the past like say like 7 years, it's like accelerated. We've gotten stupider and stupider with these cars.
100. I would agree. At first, when I started out going to the track, very few STIs at the track. I was kind of like, oh, it's just me and my STI,
Hmm.
competing in TT2.
Yeah,
And then, but I would say that there have been more STIs at the track, especially within the last 3 years. And I'm an instructor too with NASA, and I've instructed. They obviously put me a instructor with the STI, and I always tell them it's like car is super fun to be on track, but I'm just like, listen, I just got to be honest with you. Like, if you're going to continue on this journey with this STI, there's going to be a couple things that you just need to know. You got to do these things to the car to make it survivable at the track, and
yes.
then eventually something will go wrong.
I call it the come to Jesus talk, and I have it 3 times a week where I've
Yep.
got to have the talk with somebody like, look, these cars can turn these times. You can put this on the podium or win. Like, you can do these things with this car, but understand that there are things you need to do to make that happen. And things can go wrong really easy. But
Yes.
if you love it, I'm here for you, and I love it. This is why I'm still doing this. It's why you're still screwing around with these damn things. But
Yes.
again, like you gotta love it. Okay. There's
You have to love it.
yes. I'm not saying it's the wrong platform, but I'm also not saying it's the right platform. But that doesn't mean it's the wrong platform.
I'll go back to what I said earlier. Every platform has its quirks.
Yep.
I've seen plenty of Corvettes, blow out rears, have issues there. I've seen other cars have their little issues here and there, but like maybe the Subaru has one or two more quirks in it. But you know, you just got to understand that, and you could still show up to the track, turn a fast time, really be on, really the car. If you know how to drive the all-wheel drive platform, especially with the STI, and know how to get the car to rotate, the car's gonna put down a fast lap, and people are gonna be like, "Whoa!" And then you have to deal with the one or two quirks afterwards. But that's where we're at, I think, as a community.
Yes. And one of the things you'll have, and I'm not saying other communities aren't like this to some degree, but I 100% know Subarus are a little different when it comes to this. You can go to anyone in the Subaru community. They could be your direct competitor in the exact same class, and they would be more than happy to cough any amount of info they can just to help you go quicker. We as a community work together really well. Like we there's not a ton of us, and it does grow every day, but we're all really willing to help each other. And that's, and you're right about quirks within, you know, I had 3 BMW engines blow up in competition with me this year trying to chase us around. We we've had a very, very, very well put together Corvettes die. It happens.
Yep.
All makes and models, anything you take on the track, it's a dice roll. It's, things will happen, and they have their quirks. Corvettes, some of them have cooling issues. The Supra's getting the rear diff to play ball, and all this can be, everybody's got their things, so
Yeah.
it just,
And I think I kicked.
I feel like the community
I was good.
is very quick, outside of Subaru, is very quick to point at Subaru as being a piece of shit when it's really not.
I was just about to echo the same sentiment because I probably bucked a lot of that agita on the Subaru community because I never left an event where the car didn't make it through an event. The car showed up every time I put it out for a session. It was out there for the full session. What was I doing in the background? I was making sure that this thing was uh, very thoroughly maintained. I was running E85. You have to change your oil every time you run an E85 at the track.
Yep.
You have to do it. You have to go through. You have to check the underneath of the car. You have to check the front ball joints. You have to check some of these areas that are just known problem areas, and you just got to do the maintenance. And it just requires a little bit more. But I never left a track weekend with the walk, or I guess the trailer of shame,
Yeah,
where
the
I had to
push
pack
of
it up
shame.
early because the
Yeah.
car didn't make it.
And it, like, it's, I gotta be real, this is the first season we've had that where we drove onto the trailer every single event, and you're pushing the limits, things are gonna happen. But if you maintain your vehicle the right way and do the stuff you're supposed to do, you have an extraordinarily high chance of success. Okay, like, they can be good. And I feel that, I think early adopters with Subarus were taking their knowledge base from other vehicles and trying to apply it to a Subaru, and it didn't work out. And or
Yep.
like, if you stray from the path in certain ways, you can get away with maybe not maintaining a Honda's engine the same way you would a Subaru and get away with it. Or, like a Corvette, you don't really got to worry about, ball joints and stuff like that the same way you would on a Subaru. But you have to be on top of some of these things. But if you are, they're good to you, And again, if you're not willing to do that, go buy a Porsche. But it's
Yeah.
just different. Yeah.
Because we all know Porsche's really the answer.
In the end, like, even the Corvette guys will go, yeah, I should have just bought a Porsche. And the Corvette really is the answer.
So you know you've been around the track too long.
Yes, everybody, all roads in one way lead to Porsche, one way or another, unless you're just, like me, and maybe you, to a point where we just fight it. Our lives would be so
Yes.
much easier if we just go buy GT4s and turn laps. So, so you ended up, have you how did the car end up in Subimod's hands? What was what happened? Okay, because I know it sounds like you were trying to do something different. They were looking for a race car. Somehow you ended up selling that because you were looking to mess around with a BRZ. Tell me what's going on now.
Yep. So here we are. We arrived at 2024, and I did an event with NASA, and the season had just like begun. I have always been talking about getting grid life, but I wanted to get into racing, and the car went down a path that we built an outstanding time trial time attack car.
Mhm.
Would that thing last in a race? Absolutely not. It would run out of fuel. It would, at some, that's what the STI is there to turn the fastest two or three laps, and then, okay, retire the car,
Yep.
box. Um, and I just, from a skill set wise, I do want to go towards racing. So it's like I can't convert this car over to wheel to wheel racing. It's a wide body STI. There's just so many things to do, and at the point of where we went to Wicked Big Meat, and there was I had basically an engine with like 6 events on it, and there was something also off with like the engine. It wasn't bearing related maybe, but there was something definitely that needed to get. So the engine, there was going to be an engine out job that had to come,
Sure.
and on Subi Mods, I partnered with EFI after Ben and Nick had cultivated a relationship, because Nick wants to do the drift stuff and everything like that, and wanted to get, and Ben was just basically like, you've done the safety all wrong, you got to get the safety into the car, you're doing crazy stuff, like probably even more dangerous than racing. So they had that relationship to started, and they, I believe at the time, had their VB chassis
Yes.
basically grenaded the transmission, and so they were like -1 car. And basically the approach is just like, Max is looking to get out of his car because he wants to go wheel to wheel racing. This is a proven time attack build with big flashy wing, wide body STI. Like, it's a head turner. Like, people know this car.
It was
And
the perfect storm for them to pick up. Cause they showed me this because they were also partnered. I've been kind of helping them on their Subi mods through their time attack journey. So they
yep,
showed me the car. I'm like, I know that car. You and I had done an event called Flat Bore Throwdown at one point,
yep,
and that's where
yep.
I met you. And that was
And we were close.
we were real close. I mean, I had a car that was an absolute disaster at that event. It wouldn't have been that close if I wouldn't have had. I'm gonna throw that out there. All right, you want to go see
I
what?
was hey, I'm a grip build, and you were a high
Oh man,
horsepower
at that
build.
point, it was all it did was horsepower. That car was a piece of shit at that point. So
Yeah, and I had no power.
no, none. Either way, I knew the cars, so Nick's like, "What do you know about this thing?" I'm like, "That thing is right. Like, that's the perfect." And then I was like, "Nick, put that in a street mod." Like, and I'm still gonna scream this, and I've
Yep,
been screaming it forever. One, Subarus aren't gonna play well in track mod, especially with guys like Alan Patton.
yep,
That class is turning into 1,000 horsepower Corvettes with crazy aero. Okay, it's
yeah.
just
Very
it's
uncorked. Yeah, very uncorked power in that class. Which the Subaru can punch pretty high, but like punching that high is a little
Boogie
out of reach
punches
for
pretty
a
high,
2.5.
and it ain't it. I'm not punching that high. Okay, it just isn't happening. So like, I'm like, put it in the street mod, but they decided they didn't want to do anything with the car. Like, for them to put it in the street mod, all they had to do was add a little bit of interior back in, change the front splitter a little bit, and lower the wing a hair, and it was
Yes.
legal.
Yep.
And man, they I hope they hear me for next year. I'm gonna keep screaming it because it ain't gonna be hard to set up, and I will show you the way. But that car is so perfect for that. They're all like, "Well, we gotta put smaller tires on it." Doesn't matter. Car will work. I'm telling you, car will work. But they end up getting this
Yep.
car.
So that.
He asked me, and he's like,
Yep.
"Dude, what do you think of this car?" And I'm like, "Dude, it's fucking perfect. Put it in a street mod." They wanted something for Bucky.
Yep.
Yep.
So they picked up the car, and I was just like, bet. Uh, you'll never get this type of dollar for this type of car in the Subaru community. It's kind of like, like I said, like the Subaru community knows what you got, but like all the outsiders have that stink of like that look in, like the Corvette guys are just like, no, I wouldn't go from a Corvette to an STI, blah, 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 blah. We kind of already went into that.
Yep.
So they picked it up, and immediately as soon as they picked up that car, I found myself my goal was to find myself a car that was already raced, that had a BRZ that was already raced, that had a blown motor, because I was doing FA24 swap from the get go.
Let's go,
And I
boy.
found that car. Yep.
And again,
I found
how
that
many
car
times have I screamed
immediately.
this here, folks? It's the answer right now. You want to get into any form of racing right now. It's not just the answer for Subaru people, it's the answer. FA24 swap first gen BRZ. It's absolutely the answer. So you
Yeah,
ended up picking up
because
what, another TT prepped or wheel to wheel prepped?
it was raced in SCCA T4, so it was
Okay.
already logbooked raced car.
Sick.
That basically the motor had let go. The oil cooler had an issue, and basically it overheated on track, and cylinder four was low compression. So basically got that car, brought it back to EFI, did the FA24 swap, and this year got my race license. Or not? Yeah, this year got my race license with NASA for ST5.
Cool.
Because the problem with ST5 for a Gen 1 BRZ is that the FA20 is just too high strung, even on E85, to really. You have to be perfect to be at the top of the class in ST5 and NASA in a
Yeah.
BRZ, and that is just hard to do on a weekend. You have to be an animal as a driver for that. With the FA24, you're just right there. Now there's a little bit more wiggle room to operate in, because
You get a
the
little more
FA24 that's
torque,
in my car
power band fattens up, yeah.
fattens up. The FA24 that we have, I think we just hit 227 horsepower in the Mustang dyno with direct injection tuning.
Nice.
So it's the power is
On a
there. So
Mustang too, huh?
yeah, on a Mustang.
Wow. That's solid, man. So that's like, to give you an idea, Mustang dynos tend to read a little lower than your typical dyno jet. And that's, most people go off of, when you hear dyno numbers, most people are trying to average it to a dyno jet setup. And you could probably add about 5% to that or so. And that's probably going to be about what your dyno jet numbers are, which
Yeah,
is super
and
solid. That'd be another 10
you know,
horsepower or so. So that's sick. And you've already, have you ran this car yet?
yep, I raced it. So two times, and or two events. Raced it at Summit Point and Watkins Glen. Summit Point, it was just like it was a shakedown event, and it was also my comp school event. So basically,
Hmm.
it was just like, all right, just gotta survive the weekend. Just gotta make sure this car like doesn't have anything like crazy that we don't know about.
Sure.
And everything went great actually with that car, and we just realized like, hey, we took so much power out. We got to put the power back in, because we had to get it classed right.
Hmm.
Because the dyno jet actually ran 7.5% low. And this is where, like, if you're at the top of like, and you've been doing this for a while, when you start doing TT and racing, and you have horsepower to weight, like you're figuring out like the literal like percentages to make sure that your car is getting like within like 2 to 3 horsepower of your limit.
Yeah, you're trying to
Um,
get to the
and,
bleeding edge of what you're allowed to run.
yeah, and then we went to Watkins Glen. Now this car is a BRZ Gen 1 BRZ 2014 with an FA24 in it, and that is essentially it. It has Bilstein suspension in it, stock brakes, like just the DTC 60s in it, on a Toyo R tire, and I ran 12s at Watkins Glen, two
Nice.
12s.
That is cooking,
Yeah,
dude. That
yeah.
means through the big
So
sweepers, you were basically flat.
yeah, I mean the top of the class is running consistently like in the mid nines, low
Yeah.
high nines. So 2 seconds to close. But basically that I just got to put an aero package on it, upgrade the brakes, go to the Hoosier, probably to get a little bit more time out of the car, and then we'll probably be like right there in the hunt for podiums.
Nice, dude. So your plan is to do a bunch of NASA wheel to wheel then with this. Do you have any plans of
Futures.
doing any GLTC? Because that car would slot in really well.
So here's the news. So I'm still in the National Guard, and my schedule conflicts with a lot of the NASA Northeast events. So I'm actually in
Sure.
talks with EFI to do a full grid life schedule.
Let's go, man! I would love to hang out with you all season. That's gonna be great, man. I gotta be real. One of my I wanted to do this for a while, and I'm planning on doing the same thing with my BRZ. Just so you're aware, like I it's not 100% public knowledge yet, but my daily's going back to being a bug eye. I'm looking at another STI swap bug eye. We'll get into that another time. But
Yep.
my BRZ, when I acquire this car, which hopefully happens next month, is going under the knife to do to build a FA24 swap, BRZ
GLTC car.
for GLTC, and you and I can share so much data. So much data. It's going to be so good. So much data. Dude, I hope that works out. That would be sick.
I mean, that's the only way to really be on track and do something competitive this year, because I literally can only make 2 NASA Northeast events, so that's my home region.
Yeah.
And then I can make 5 out of the 6 GLTC events, so it's like kind of like a no-brainer. And you know what? The one event I can't make is Watkins Glen, and I'm just like, that's my track.
Oh no, you're gonna come to Laguna then?
Yeah, that's the plan right now. So if everything works out, start of the line, everything should be the more likely path for me right now is to do a full GLTC season.
That's awesome. That's sick, dude. I'm honestly, I'm really hyped to hear that, because I think I've always liked your energy, and I think it's gonna fit with grid life really well, and I think you're gonna love GLTC. Like, the racing is the especially the guys at the front, they're aliens. And if that's what you're trying to do is go fight aliens, man, you got it. And they definitely have a field. So you're guaranteed to have people to race against.
Yeah, GLTC, I would say certainly intimidated, just because my racecraft is probably non-existent at this point. And those, like, I know Eric Magnuson, longtime NASA Northeast driver, like animal in the M3 that he has. So yeah, it's certainly I am very, very, I wouldn't say surprised, but this, like, the level of driver that is in the GLTC field, certainly amongst the top 10, is a very, very high caliber.
It's they're animals. I mean, you've got IMSA championship winners show up to this.
Yep.
I don't even know what to say about Andy Smedegard other than he's a fucking alien. Eric Catil, alien.
Alien. Yes.
Matan, alien. Like, it's the upper pack of GLTC is nuts. Like, I honestly, the biggest reason I want to do it is if I can just hang off the back of the front pack and feel like I'm even remotely a part of that. I feel like that's a level of respect that would be nearly impossible to get anywhere else.
Yeah, I feel like my goal, if I'm making it happen, would be to slot in like 9th or 10th to be in the invert grid, in the consideration for the invert.
Yes.
And that would be probably the best the best scenario.
If you can get up even in that mix, dude, winning even on an invert is a massive win. Anybody who's like, oh, it was an invert, you want, like, I don't care. you take that win
for your life,
dude. You win that thing. If you get a win next year for hell, you get a fucking podium next year, dude. I will buy you dinner. It'll be great. We will all celebrate the living shit out of a single podium, and it's worth it. So that'd be badass.
Yep.
Yeah.
Speaking of high energy for grid life, do we want to transition into?
We're getting there right now. So last year, you got brought back. So Bucky was driving your old car, but they were messing around with this VA. Subimods had this VA they were going to try to run in street mod, and they're like, hey Max, you can wheel. Why don't you come out and run this thing? Okay. This is how I
down for us.
Shake it down, see what the situation is. You're like, I know Lime Rock. This is going to be great. Okay. And I know a lot of you who are listening to this saw this because this clip went pretty damn viral, especially due to the audio they used for it. The jet holiday thing was great. But you had an unfortunate incident where you were bombing down the straightaway and got a hell of a run coming into one. went to the inside because you thought you were going to have plenty of time to clear this S2000 and it went bad. Okay. So, first thing I want to do is I'm going to throw this in the chat and do us a favor, chat. Don't be posting this all over the place. It's unlisted for a reason, but I want the chat to see this. I would start it about halfway through. Okay. It's not a very long video, but start about halfway through. And you're going to see him coming down the hill, last corner. And then you're going to see from his view what actually happened. And I'm interested to see what the chat thinks about this. But with that
Chat.
yeah,
Roast me, chat.
roast them, chat. Now, with that stated, it did end unfortunately. If you watch the outside view, it looked ugly as shit from the outside. But when you watch it
Yep.
from inside the car, I can see where your brain was at. And this is also proof that you're a seasoned driver, man. You're not a beginner. You are not a noob by any chance, by any stretch of the imagination. And stuff can still go bad, and it only
Yeah.
takes, like, in this situation, I think we can both agree it was probably a small lapse of judgment, but it doesn't take much, just a slight lapse of judgment, and it can go crooked real quick. This is why safety equipment and stuff really matters.
Oh yeah, the safety aspect can't be overstated. The speeds that you get to in these cars, if you are not in a Hans, if you're not in a, you know, my wife actually wrecked her BRZ an event at Summit, and she was in a with a harness bar, full but 5-point harness, and she walked away from it because she had all the safety gear on, and it's the same thing that happened here. Um, but like to give you this like the insight of where we were at in the weekend and what led up to this, the car
Yes.
was being absolutely 100% shut down. The car was as Diego, one of the Texas EFI wrote so eloquently, we just built this. So
And you did.
the
Like,
car was
this
new.
car, yeah, like, hell, the wheels didn't even fit. Like, it was a disaster, man.
Yeah. So um the car was getting shaken down day one at Grid Life. The car was doing okay. I think we were talking a lot about the brake setup. That was probably giving me the most amount of confidence hits there. But day two really started like, oh, like the brakes are sorted now. The car is not rotating the way I want it to rotate. Understeering like a madman. So like I kind of starting to understand like the limitations of the car. And if you're not familiar with the grid life format, the the groups keep evolving as
Yes.
people are getting faster, people are moving up, dropping back, and we're basically arriving at the last session of the day. And the two cars in front of me, I'm at the top of this group, but the two cars in front of me have not run in this group before. They've been quick the whole weekend, and then they just got knocked out of the group ahead of me. So the time separation between the two cars, I was running point 0.2 behind them in the order sheet. So my car versus, I think it was the S2000 that was in front of me, and I think another S2000 platform or another basically light chassis, low horsepower, good in the corners platform in front of me.
Yep.
So when you're going into the time attack event and you look at your competition, and I would say I'm looking at least three ahead and three back, and like, okay, what are the cars three ahead, three back? And understanding that, oh, I have two S2000s in front of me. I am going to bomb them on the straight, but they are going to mob me in the corners because I'm in an STI that can't, get through these corners quickly. And that is exactly what my game plan was going into it. I thought through, okay, the golden rule, everybody's entitled to their first hot lap. Don't pass on the first flying lap.
That's
Don't do
right.
that.
I applaud
Sacred
you
rule.
for that. It's a part of the 10 commandments of time attack. and it
Yes.
matters.
It does matter.
Yep.
So the whole strategy of me going into the session was just like, okay, I know fairly well, I believe the limits of this car, and this is the competition in front of me, and I think that I can at least chop another, zero point 0.4, zero point 0.5 seconds out of this car,
Mhm.
and get me into a 28, a high 28. The goal was to nip a 28 in.
Sure.
So first lap, out lap, get the car warmed up. I'm on AO52s. This car is pushing, I think the mid 400s. I think we were at on this car was like mid 440,
Yeah, she was
460.
scooting around.
And yep. And let the S2000 have his first flying lap. And I catch him in the middle of the lap. I'm like, okay, you know, I need to get myself back farther. And in my head, I was saying to myself, let me get myself enough of a gap where I can get the run down the front straight. And I close up on this S2000 where he's going to do really good through, down to the no name straight, the Paul
Yep.
Newman straight now. And then there's no real disadvantage for me for staying behind him again on another lap, because if I time this right, he should still have this run on me, and then I could get him down the front straight on the second lap. I'll be that close. So that way I'm not, because if there's anything that you want to not do on your lap that you're trying to go for is pass a car,
Yep.
because
It just kills your lap time.
you'll
It
lose
absolutely
time.
kills your lap time, especially on something like
You'll
Lime
kill your
Rock,
lap
where
time.
you're talking sub 1 minute laps. Okay, like you'll give up a half a second without even realizing it, full second without even realizing it if you've got to pass a car.
Yep. And I was banging in like mid 59s the whole time.
Yep.
So here we go. We're coming up, and this is where like that video picks up. I thought I gave myself enough of a gap, but unbeknownst to me, I really sent it on this down into the
Dude,
the
you
downhill right
got it.
hand hitter.
You got that last corner
I nailed
real
it.
well.
I was on the ragged edge. Like the two tires were just kissed the outside of the corner. So
Yep.
I picked up 6 mile an hour faster than I had the whole weekend down that corner. So I'm
Holy
carrying
shit.
6 more mile an hour,
Yeah.
6 more mile an hour down the front straight. And this is a S2000 that's in front of me, and I am in this high horsepower STI. And the closing speed, he told me when I talked to the driver afterwards that his top speed, I think down the front straight was like 126, I think, something
Yeah.
like that. And mine is 142.
Yeah, you were
Yeah.
hauling ass, dude. You were closing on that car really quick, and this is why I want to say, if you watch your in-car view compared to I posted the external view, um,
Yep.
you don't realize, like from your view, dude, you are blowing by this guy. Like you came into turn one. You had to have been going at least a minimum of 6 mile an hour faster, but it was probably more like 8 to 10 than you were used to at that point. And you thought
Yep.
you were, the closing speed was so high, it looked like you could have blown around him.
Yeah. So brain short circuit, you arrive at the scene of the crime at the decision point where it's just oh, I closed up on this guy a lot faster than I anticipated, but I think I have the time and the space to make the move down in the turn one and go inside. So as soon as I made the decision and I pulled out right, I knew, I'm like, nope, I fucked up. So it's apologies for the language, but
No,
I
you're
definitely
fine.
effed it up.
Yeah.
So I pull out to the inside, and what was happening in the data when we reviewed it. So yes, I carried that 6 mile an hour all the way down the front straight, right? I broke a half brake marker later than I had the whole weekend. And I'm going 6 mile an hour faster. And I'm now inside of an S2000. There is only one outcome from this. I am not making this corner where I should have been probably breaking a half brake marker earlier to make that corner because of the speed I picked up.
Yep.
And so essentially what happened was I'm inside of this S2000. Now I'm like, oh, yep, definitely not making this corner. And the brake trace was the same brake trace as the whole weekend. The brake performance was there, but as soon as I hit that inside curb,
It's
you
gone.
saw it flatten out,
Yep.
and that was over because the ABS was in and it was along for the ride. And
Yep.
I hit the wall at 63 mile an hour.
If you wouldn't have hit the curbing, I think you would have. I don't think you would have hit the wall. But the curbing popped the car up, and you lost a pretty decent amount of pavement braking, and that's, I think, what did you in. You would have went off no matter what, but I don't think you would have hit the wall until the curbing got involved.
Yeah, who knows? I like you, like I'm in the data and I'm looking at it.
Mhm.
Like I was also looking at things with Bucky, and I was like, some of the in turn one, I'm out breaking Bucky. That's like
Yeah.
I'm doing I'm doing good like on these, and I'm on AO52s too, so a little bit of a tire different too. So I'm just showing him this like, hey, like I'm out breaking you, but I think that's just the tire different because he was on 660s. But yeah, you see in the data that like as soon as I touched the curb, the braking performance just flattened out, and it was an ABS.
Yep. That's the end of that.
So
I
yeah, in the wall, and then like, the safety equipment did its job. I went into the wall at 63 and essentially walked away, and I was just sitting there with my arms crossed because I was like, I can't believe I just did this in Nick's car.
Yeah. You were so you were in a mindset to when this happened, not like, oh my God, I'm sore or whatever. Because you had enough safety equipment on and everything worked the way it was supposed to, you immediately went into Nick's gonna kill me.
Yeah, exactly. And then
Oh my
I
God.
thought the most like I don't know if it's like the military thing or what, or I've been doing it for so long, but like they took my blood pressure and I was like 78 over like like 115, and it's just
Yeah.
like basically like I'm so essentially you're saying like I'm at my resting heart rate, like
Yeah.
like zero. That's how hyper focused you are when you're at the top, of the game of trying to like
Sure.
win time attack and win TT, is like you're just so locked in, because I've been doing it for so long, because it had been 14 years and I'd never been in the car. 14 years of being on track, and that's what I did, and that was my debut at grid life, was bending a car.
He learned a lot. I think the best part of that video, especially from the external, is the wing popping off at the end, after the impact was just like comedy gold.
Icing on the cake.
It was
Yeah.
so it was so funny. I know it's at your expense, but God, that video was golden.
Yeah. And I would say that the car ran and drove afterwards. Like the car came back and it's just like, oh, like just the intercoolers busted up, and the most amount of damage happened to the car was the tires coming and flopping on top of the windscreen and the B pillar and the
Yeah,
top. But we drove the car in the trailer, and it's fixed, so it's gonna be back out there. It's just gotta get the wrap put on it, and then yeah. So like that was like the saving grace of it all. Is just like, yes, it was a brand new build and I bended, but luckily it wasn't a catastrophic loss.
Jamie's in the chat realizing, yes, this is the guy that met Barry R in Lime Rock. He's the dude who went right off the end and the wing popped off. The video from a few posts back. Jamie almost
Yep.
did the same thing just on the very last
I'm
corner.
very familiar with Jamie's antics on the live stream, especially at Road America and Lime Rock.
Jamie is always somehow in the shenanigans. That's Jamie's way.
Yeah, but yeah. So after that all wrapped up, I immediately went and found the S2000 driver. Like, told him this, like, hey man, I wasn't patient like that. It was just completely bad timing on my part, and I'm glad you saw me coming, because he for the S2000, if you didn't catch on the live stream, he saw me coming and on the inside, and he bailed out of his turn in and actually looped it on the escape road. So that was really heads up driving from that guy too, and it just goes to show that there are some people who are experienced. They're heads up drivers, and you got to have your head on a swivel when you come to these events, because people push it
Anything can
like that
happen.
and they do take risks. Yeah,
Yep,
anything can happen.
anything can happen. Jamie will tell you. Autobahn, Jamie. Something about a Subaru shooting down on the inside. I don't know. Some asshole and some GC. Um, so I'm really hyped that you're going to be around next year. Hopefully, I hope that all works out. I definitely want to bring you on the podcast more, especially if you're going to be doing a bunch of JLTC stuff. I'd like to make it kind of a reoccurring segment of your adventures in JLTC with your very basic FA24-swapped BRZ. Just to talk about the platform and what you're doing, because I think it's awesome. And yeah, keep us up to date. But I'm really hyped we managed to get you on, dude, and kind of hear your story and see what the situation was. And I can't thank you enough for taking some time out of your day to come by.
Yeah, 100%. I so much more meat on the bone here to talk through. I would say
Absolutely.
the only thing that that was interesting about State of the Grid is just the festival. Just going to a 6 event format. Festival is
Mhm.
only
What do you
the
think of that?
DE parts cut out. It's a interesting pivot, and they're focusing on their core strengths, which is throwing these raiders and production
Yeah.
events. And I think what everybody needs to understand is, you know, the NASA is out there, SCCA is out there, and you can go to these, move up through DE, get your TT license, and get licensed at these sanctioning bodies, and then come over to Grid Life. It was, I think, for me, it was fairly easy. I showed a very long driver experience with TT, but these are still the organizations that are going to develop the next set of drivers that are going to come to Grid Life if that's where they stay, where they just focus on the festival events.
I
So
don't
we
think
still got
this
to
is going
realize
to
that
be
there's
their
the feeders that are going to be out
forever
there.
thing, but I do see people using NASA as their development platform to get into Grid Life, and this is something again I'd like to bring you on to talk about, like, what do you need to do as a new driver to go do some of these things. And it might be one of those things that I mess around with in the with my new bug eye, as to how people can, go to some of these events and develop into certain things. I want to try to show the path to doing this now, as compared to Grid Life even like 5 years ago. Like, the path was pretty easy because they had DE and you kind of just go through DE and start into time attack. It's a little harder now, and competition's gotten a little more wild. And yeah, so I want to bring you on some more and talk about that. Just how people need to approach it, where they find the events, things like that. So if you're down, I'm definitely down to bring you on again.
Yep, I'm down. And then thank you for having me here. Really great to talk through all my shenanigans, where I came from, where I'm going, and then you know GLTC. It's realistically the only way for me to be competitive next year. So I think that's where I need to make it happen. But I'm still going to do 2 NASA events next year too.
Nice. And I'd like to hear some compare and contrast between the two too. So I think it's going to be awesome. Yeah, I think you're going to kind of be our NASA correspondent. So sweet, man. Max, I can't thank you enough. Somebody were to go look you up and want to know more about you, stuff you've done, stuff you're doing, and keep up with you, how would they do that?
At Reckless Action on Instagram, and follow EFI Performance, because my car and the Subi Mods cars are usually always featured in there. So
Mhm.
that's where you see, and they're doing a really good job of now pushing out some more content and more updates. And we like to have a good time. If you haven't noticed the trend, we put somebody on the mic, and they are always holding a random car part. And if you noticed on one of my updates, I was holding the busted fender of the STI as my update from Grid Life. So we like to have fun with it.
We got one more game we got to play. Serapin Wolf's going to be pissed if we don't, and he's right. We got to play the game. NASIOC Member Number Showdown. I want to know.
Ooh.
Okay. I'm gonna guess, because you got into Subarus a little bit later than I did. You're probably gonna be a little on the higher side, but I'm interested to know where you sit. So I'm gonna say over under. I bet you're over 200,000.
Let's see. I'm logging in right now. Okay.
This is gonna be good.
I have a join date of 11/15/2017. What do you think?
Oh my god, you are power noob. I'm gonna say you're probably over 400,000. Okay,
find the
you might
numbers.
actually be the
Where's the number?
highest member number we've had
Four-
on yet. I can't wait. What do you got?
477,789.
Holy shit! You are noob Jesus as far as this podcast goes. Holy crap! That's really when you signed into NASIOC. That's when you made your account. That is crazy. I still
Hey, but on
sometimes
Cobalt
feel like,
SS forums,
oh, I
on
bet
the
you're
Cobalt
OG.
SS forums, I'm a legend.
I bet. So just to give you a comparison, just so you know, like I signed up, I was an iClub member and came in right when the O2 WRX started to become really popular. And then I switched over to NASIOC later on. So I feel like I came in a little later. My join date is in May 2003. Okay, so it's later than some of the people we've had on here. We've had some just mega OGs on this. And I'm a little over
Yeah, well,
37,000. I'm 37,078.
hey, well, you know, if you were in my world, the CobaltSS.net land, I'm number 19,228.
Whoa! Whoa, okay.
Yeah,
We'll calm
yeah.
down.
Watch out.
Yep. Hold on. Hold on. Do you ever want to get another Cobalt SS in the future just to like relive the dream?
You know what? The price is pretty compelling to get into it.
I bet they're cheap.
You know,
They're
you can,
good cars for what they are too. You ever want to like the turbo ones are great cars.
is that out of 40,000 members? That's I wouldn't say 40,000, but it's probably not as much as NASIOC for damn sure.
I'm just, NASIOC's
But
NASIOC for a reason.
NASDAQ's for a reason, yes. But you know, the price point is compelling. There's some nuances about the car. They are good, quick. You know, I would say like you know, on the drag side for a 4-cylinder drag car, the Cobalt is great.
Yeah.
Um,
I felt that
but
I've driven a couple
yeah,
of them. I've driven one on track before, and I was wildly impressed by how good that chassis actually was for it being a GM shitbox. Like it was really good.
we don't. You say shitbox, we say Econobox.
Oh, okay. Shitbox. Um,
Yeah, yeah, tissue paper.
but either way, it definitely was, you know, definitely economy car, and American based economy car, which I got to be real, like they've never been the greatest. But I mean, this is high praise when I say this. It's right there with the first gen Neon, as far as like handling and how much it would impress you when you're throwing it around. It really, I was astounded as to how good it really was. I was driving a turbocharged one, so they did do a little bit more development on that. You know, it was a little later, it was tweaked a little bit, and it did have a good set of tires on it, some 200 treadwear, some or other. But super solid car on track. I always wonder because I owned a Volkswagen Corrado back in the day, and there's really nothing that makes a Corrado like interesting other than if you
Mhm.
the VR6 just sounds great. You know what I mean? But past that, I mean, it
Yeah.
handles okay, it does stuff okay, but there's definitely other cars that do.
Producer Jordan here. We had some technical difficulties with the deck not saving the outro, but that's okay. You didn't miss much. But here's an old outro.
All right, folks. Hope you had a good time and maybe accidentally learned something. If you could do us a solid and please subscribe. And I can't stress this enough. Share, share, share. Share the link to the podcast. Tell people about the podcast. Come on the podcast. It's we the more the merrier, and the more people we have, the more guests we can have, the more fun we can have with this. We want to make this a giant happy family. So thanks guys.